Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. Today I'm skipping my take, and I'm going to have two segments. The opening segment is going to be a State of the Nation conversation with a panel. And then the concluding segment is going to be an exclusive interview with the leader of CONUA, that is the Congress of Nigerian University Academics, on the issue of ASU, arguing that only members of ASU are entitled to the benefits of the recently signed federal government agreement with university lecturers. So we're going to be hearing the side of CONUA on that very interesting conversation. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm leading the show with a conversation on the state of the nation. We are trying to look at three important developments that have happened recently, such as the matter of the reversal of the EFCC account freezing in Osun State, the issue between the Catholic bishops and the presidency, and of course, we're going to have a security update. I don't want to say insecurity update. To join me in those very important themes, I have two leading Nigerian public intellectuals. Right to my immediate right, I have Malam Baba Yusuf, who is a strategist, policy advisor, and the group CEO of GITC. Malam, good to see you again on Inside Sources.
Always a pleasure to be here, my bro.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Prof.
Thank you so much. And on his right, we have the Director General of the International Institute for Security and Governance Studies, who is also a regular contributor on Inside Sources. I'd like to welcome again Dr. David Okoro. My brother, good to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to be here again.
All right. So let's kick it off from what happened this last week. I think it was on the 5th of August, the EFCC said that, hey, we found out that there's some suspicious movement of account in a particular Osun State statutory account, and we're going to, freeze it. It was actually frozen. Of course, hell let loose. The governor made a big deal of it, like he should. And then Nigerians said, no, you can't do that. And then on Thursday, the president said, no, you guys got to take that back. So what's your opening take? Let's start with you, Madam, about that.
A very interesting development. I've heard a lot of feedback on this action. Obviously, the executive in an imbroglio that backfired with what happened in Osun State, very sad and tragic. Now, to provide a caveat, I have been a friend of the EFCC because we believe we should
full disclosure.
Yeah, full disclosure. I'm an advocate of fighting corruption.
Yes.
Not a friend of Olukoede as a person, but a friend of the institution.
True.
And of course, Mr. Olukoede, fine gentleman, a man of impeccable character as far as I'm concerned. And to that extent, we are advocates of zero tolerance to corruption in Nigeria. As a weekly backpage columnist in the Nation newspaper, we still speak truth to power, and we have advocated and supported EFCC even when governors were fighting there.
Yeah.
Even when it was not fashionable.
True.
Well, with profound respect to the chair of the EFCC, in this particular instance, I think that lien on the Osun State Governor's statutory account was bad timing, was wrong move. Why am I saying so? Because in investigation, in prosecution, timing is critical for you to be able to achieve your objectives. There is enough time to do that, but the timing vis-a-vis the election coming up in the next couple of days gave it a different picture. There is no doubt the EFCC has the powers to investigate everybody or anybody, state, public or private. But when you rise indicator of leadership, Prof, at the helm of a chair executive, is not just operational, it is strategic. It is about emotional intelligence. And to that extent, it is about timing. Monies have moved from the statutory account, by the way, to some other accounts. As they say in investigation, follow the money. So I would have expected if that clamping down of account would happen, should have happened at the destination of that money, not at the source. One,
Important point.
protect the beneficiaries of that statutory account, which by constitution, by law, does not belong to Governor Adeleke, but to the people of Osun State.
Yeah.
Now, you dimension the issue. If I strike, it's just like, going to attack a particular location like fighting terrorism. You weigh the options. What is the level of collateral damage before I make the move? Not just go to attack because you want to attack and kill the victims and kill the people you are targeting. At the end of the day, what do you achieve? So I believe that if EFCC had restricted the accounts of those recipients of that money, first of all, would have raised a red flag by the government. If they are pushing that money for ulterior motive, now they have been cornered. It is highly likely they will not push the money to any other person again because everybody will take cover.
In fact, that would have been an expose because
Very well.
if the recipients were illegitimate,
Exactly.
that would have been
it will
the story.
precipitate the issues.
That would be the story, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, actually. And that will give time for elections to take place and EFCC to still come and do its job. Now, coming to the point of Mr. President's action, I believe that Mr. President also could have done it better, with profound respect to Mr. President, because other mechanisms would have been used to achieve the same objective, just like a lot of commentators have mentioned, that you would have used the Attorney General of the Federation, for example, to achieve the same objective. Albeit Mr. President was trying to be very clearly to score a political point. But in doing so, have opened a precedent and a vista that may not be able to be manageable. But to learn with this, I am happy this has been nipped in the bud. What is important is for us not to allow EFCC or any other organization to mess up the 2027 election. Imagine for a minute, a general election, 3 or 4 or 5 states' accounts are being put on hold on PND. Imagine the crisis and the chaos it will generate in Nigeria. And imagine the kind of image or backlash it will have on the general elections in this country. So I think circumspection is very key. Timing is very key. Strategic position is also very important.
Dr. Okoro, I wanted to also have your own, opening take. And I'd like you to comment on what he said, if you can, in addition, that if EFCC had put the lien, froze the account of the recipient, maybe it would have been a different ballgame. What do you think?
Well, brilliant idea. I think that usually when things like this happen, everybody wants to please the president. In the kind of system that we run, the president is very powerful. He appoints everybody. He's the one that put milk and honey in the mouth. Yes, everybody across board, whether in the security sector, whether in the regulatory sector, everybody is there on the president, at the behest of the president. So people see it as their responsibility to ensure that the president continue to remain in the office, and that is the challenge as we go towards the 2027 election. Everybody have been appointed by the president. They see themselves as being servant of the president, not to the constitution of Nigeria, but to an individual.
That's a very important point.
Yes, and they see that is their responsibility to ensure that that individual continues to remain in power. So you see the police. You see how the police is gravitating. You will see every other agency, even INEC. Even INEC, yes, INEC is independent, but is INEC really independent? Somebody appoints, see, this is how it works. In INEC, staffs are brought there by different political leaders. Yeah, they are brought there by senators and all that. And so the president have overbearing ability to determine how they respond in any particular issue. So for EFCC, for me and you talking about the EFCC, all the grammar people are speaking, I just believe that it's part of the pressure to prove to the president that we are working. And that, the governor needs money to be able to run the state. And if anything is done to tweak that, it will be helpful, because it's not as if, to me, it's not as if the EFCC was not aware that an election was close. They were aware that an election was close. They were also aware of the impact of that particular action they took, it was going to have on the capacity of the governor to run the election. Because whether you like it or not, the governor was going to be able to take part of the state resources to do his election. He will not manufacture.
That's the suspicion that
yes.
upon which EFCC
they acted, yes. But the question is the manner in which the EFCC went about doing this. Like I said, the EFCC will also feel bound to support Mr. President, to support the ruling party one way or the other. And that is what you saw playing. But for me, the president was a smart politician. He put himself out there as being a Democrat, as somebody who does not support activities like this. But really, is the president that kind of Democrat that...
Okay, so before I bring it to Malam, and then we move away, I want you guys to answer this question in 1 minute quickly. When are we going to be able to get to the point where independent agencies, autonomous agencies, understand that even though it's the president that appoints them, that they hold a duty to the people and the constitution? Or do we have to reduce the powers of the president? Let's start from you, and then... Okay,
like you said, yeah. I was... When Ribadu was appointed then as the first EFCC chairman, I remember that a couple of months after that I directed in Kaduna then at the Trade Fair Complex the first National Anti-Corruption and Financial Crime Summit. So when Ribadu came, and the question was being asked whether the president was going to use him as a political tool, or if the president asked him to carry out certain actions that were going to victimize other politicians. And people said, what will you do in that wise? And he said smartly, he said he's in this position because the president wants him to be there. The day the president is no longer interested,
that's what he said.
Yeah, he's out. So he will have to do things that
pleases the president.
Yeah, that will please the president. That this is what he said. So it's a big issue.
It is.
It's a big issue. And as long as we are not able to solve it, the people in the state, the various agencies, heads of agencies in the state, know that they are there because their boss is in power.
Okay.
It's on the seat. The day their bosses are removed by the president, they stop being in those seats. So they feel bound and responsible to ensure that the president will. Even if the president does not instruct expressly that they should be done.
Watch the body language.
The body language and so even if the president does not give the instruction, they feel that it's their responsibility to ensure that their principal.
So let's take it to Malam. So in answering that question, I think you should also include the fact that the president said that he wasn't aware, and then there are a lot of people who go around government agencies say that this is what the president said, this is what the president meant.
Thank you for that, Ryder. The quick answer, because it's a conversation for an entire session. But in my humble opinion, first of all, you can know zero psychophancy, what we call in Nigeria eye service, and bootlicking in bureaucracy, in politics, everywhere in the world.
That means
it is always there in some kind of quantity. But it is endemic in Nigeria, I believe, not because of just a simple fact.
Pandemic.
It is actually pandemic. But it is like that because of, not because of the individuals in office, like an Olukoyede or anybody, but because of the governance system in Nigeria. I kept on saying this. First of all, we have to whittle down the power of the president. Which means the political system of Nigeria has to change. Which means the political structure of Nigeria has to change. The presidential system of Nigeria is the biggest issue we have. It is the elephant in the room, gentlemen.
It is.
Okay? Because it has given this so much power to the presidency
we have
that it is always almost impossible not to take that hardline position people are talking about. Unless you are sitting on the chair of the EFCC chairman or ICPC chairman or CBN governor, I will say, give me a break. You can say whatever you want to say. Because the powers are so enormous. And for some of us that were in position of influence, that took the hard decision to resign, we know what we faced. So first and foremost, change the system to say presidential is not okay for us as Nigeria. First, it's too expensive. Secondly, the power is too centric. And that is where you start. And in doing that, also it will impact on the legislature. And in doing that, to also tweak the methodology of appointments. For example, You cannot talk about, you want to zero down psychophancy if you are talking about the security agency or law enforcement agency or the entire public service, when you are still keeping the Attorney General's role with the Minister of Justice. You have to separate it. The office of the Attorney General has to be independent in the sense that it is a different appointment from the Minister of Justice. That Attorney General's office is the office that the EFCC, the ICPC, the NFIU should report to. And you build a framework around that Attorney General to protect him and insulate him from undue interference. And that is where you start from. You can't start tweaking the structure from the middle of the framework. You have to go foundational.
Okay.
So we start from there. But before you even get to the Attorney General and whatnot, change the political system, change the political structure, you whittle down the power from the center, and then maybe there's a hope you whittle down that, because don't forget, we also have a corporate culture as a Nigeria. This Dobale attitude, whether it is in the north and south, is endemic. But I think when the system is tweaked, it will help change the narrative,
so
the direction.
I was just going
That's
to
second. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add this, that you asked the question, how do we deal with the issue of, you call it sycophancy or, right. You need to look then at the recruitment method, how people are recruited into positions. Somebody comes and he takes you to the president or to be appointed. People will stand for you. Somebody will make a phone call. Somebody will recommend you.
Right.
People play all sorts of roles. And when you are in that seat, the people who play the role to put you there will have overbearing influence, will put you there, and therefore you have to do what we're asking you to do. And because we are supporters of the president, you will have to do X, Y, Z for the benefit of the. So as long as the recruitment method still remains that people have to speak up for somebody, they have to be all sorts of lobby to get into power. When you are lobbied into power, then of course your capacity to govern or to play your role will be restricted by those who brought you to the office.
Let's move on to this issue between the Catholic bishops, particularly John Cardinal Onoyekon, and the presidency. Now, I'll make a view, and then you guys will also contribute. I think that the problem is not whether those, Cardinal, it's not what the Catholic bishop told the president in the villa. They expressed their minds. They spoke to the power, and the president listened. And the president also responded. Of course, both of them were robust. It was a robust exchange. And there was no problem there. In my view, the problem started when the cardinal exercised his right to public expression of his opinion, and presidency people started to call him out. If they didn't call him out, there wouldn't be any storm of any kind at all. And the point I'd like to make, and then I will add it over to you guys, is that I think it is ingenious for any presidential official spokesperson to say that a cardinal, of the Vatican cannot speak about the meeting with the president.
You mean disingenuous?
Disingenuous. Correct. Thank you for correcting that. Disingenuous. How can you say? And it comes back to this idea of an imperial president. Look, if the president held a meeting with the cardinal, those are the people that pick the pope. That is almost at the level of political relevance. They are not so far apart from each other. And so you cannot be saying that, meeting the president was like a privilege for them. Excuse me, the president invited them or the president accepted them. That's the kind of argument that people make when we have this imperial. We just think the president is the cabinet. The president is not a monarch.
That's right.
He's not a monarch.
Absolutely.
And when cardinals go and meet the president, they have meeting as mutually respectable. So I found the idea that the cardinal went to speak to the press. Them saying, the president saying that no, how can he do that? He met the president. He went to make it public. What nonsense is that? I'm so sorry. Over to you guys.
Thank you. I go first?
Yes, please.
To be honest with you, first of all, I'm a Muslim. But the issue is we have religious leaders. And that is why for religious leaders, let us be clear, and this goes to the sycophants of Mr. President, that we call religious leaders at that level we qualify their names with revered. What we call the president, with due respect to him, or governors, excellency, distinguished. No pun intended. But deliberately, those words are used to qualify the people, what they hold to the society, and who they are to the society.
The conscience.
The president has a role for the country. The governors have a role for the country. Indeed, in this context, the Catholic bishops have a role for the country and for the world, because the role of the bishops is not just national, it's not just subnational, it is actually international.
True.
The same goes to top-line Islamic clerics.
Absolutely.
And they are supposed to be the torch-bearers, the guiding lights, and the conscience of the society and the people.
True.
And the day handlers of a president or handlers of a governor go out of your way to start discrediting or poo-poo the conversations of such leaders, then the question is, first of all, do those people profess to a religion? And if they do, what is their relationship with God, first of all? Have they decided to abdicate their relationship with God and decided they have tied their relationship with man? But even at that, we've seen in countries where they don't really align with religions, per se, whether Christianity or Islam. But they provide a better approach. They come across better with respect to how they engage. I'm not saying they cannot respond, but I also believe, like I've consistently said, the communication strategy, and I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility, of the handlers of Mr. President in this administration, most of them, not all of them, are warped, for want of a better phrase. They need to smell the coffee and wake up, like you say. We are not having an imperial master. We are having a democratically elected president. And just like
accountable to the people.
Accountable to the people. And that is what happened even with this EFCC case. You can see how the president realized that, no, I have to take a very drastic position. As much as I'm the president, I realize that there are some things I may not do. It will be totally out of it. So, I know we have said it and we cannot say it again. They can continue misfiring and going about malhandling, the issue of Mr. President, but it is totally unacceptable. And guess what happens? They should go and sit down in their small offices and just reflect back 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, even 4 years ago. People were holding their rules. Where are they now? What are they doing? So for goodness sake, don't you have a second address? These people behave as if they don't have a second address. And guess what? Even when the leaders leave office, you were a presidential aide. You are here with us today. We are together. Where are your colleagues that were with you before? So it's a moment of introspection for them. Strategic communication should be the case, not behaving like political attack dogs. When you are in that position, you shouldn't be seen to behave or be acting like a political attack dog. You are at a pet position to guide with the president, to manage Mr. President's crisis. And in managing his crisis, sometimes silence may even be better and golden for you.
Thank you so much. Before I revert it to Dr. Okoro, I wanted to add that, well, on this case, to the credit of Mr. Bayo Onuga,
today I give him
he kept quiet.
He kept quiet.
And the young guy living,
the head boy of the team was quiet.
Yeah, so which is something to be commended. But otherwise, this is just a very interesting case.
I think that we can pinpoint where all these issues are coming from the comments made by one Mr. Boala. Yes, I want to say that one Mr. Boala who poured what I would say on the face of our revered religious leaders. I think that power or proximity to power should not get into people's head. And because
sadly it often does.
Yes, you are not the president. You're just a side staff.
Absolutely.
And you are creating problem for the president.
That's the point.
Now he's creating a big problem for the president. And he didn't need to talk. The cardinal made his points. Leave it at that.
Yes.
That matter would have just said,
we're talking about it.
Yeah, we talk, but he and you ask, is he a Christian or a Muslim? What is going on?
If you add, you should differ. And like I said, even people that don't have religion, They respect that.
You don't do that.
Those people.
You don't do that.
Actually, Northern Christian responded to our brother,
Yeah,
Boala.
Boala.
Said
It's
that it
one
was-
Boala.
Because he said that the man was speaking only for Catholics, and he said no.
No, he wasn't. He was speaking for Nigerians.
Thank you.
He was speaking for every
Yes.
single night
Yes.
because the cardinal does not interact. Just like you said before this show come up, you try and interact with Okada riders and the rest of the people. And so when you start to speak, you speak on their behalf.
Thank you.
You reflect what they are saying.
Yes.
The cardinals simply came to tell the president, this is how the people feel. They did abuse the president.
Absolutely.
It was a matter of constructive criticism or putting feedback before the president, which these communication people will have taken and see how do you analyze it and he analyzes and help the president. But he's created, and consistently this Boala creates problem for the president because each time he talks, he fouls up the system. And I think that people like that should be very careful. See, I was growing up when Shagari was president, and I was very young when Okadibo. See Okadibo?
Yes.
He was the presidential
Aide.
aide
Yes,
to Shagari.
that's
Yeah.
And he made a terrible comment about Zik. And Zik cursed him. And people said that curse follow Okadibo to his grave. So people must learn. You don't talk to cardinals like
The
that.
same applied to former Governor Rimi. You know, what you say, sorry to interject, as you are, especially in the profession, because Mr. Boala is still young, he's still coming up, he has a future. I will not dictate to him how he operates or what he does. But circumspection helps your future,
Absolutely.
helps your life.
Absolutely.
You are still within this country. You have a family. You have children that are watching you on TV, spewing this kind of thing of archbishops. What do you tell them tomorrow?
Even his own children.
That's what I'm saying. The children, his own children. What does he tell them? Or what opinion does he want them to form? Because children now from the age of 5 actually form opinion.
Absolutely.
So the advice and counsel to Boala and their likes, like I said before, this position is transient. And for high-stake political game, remember, no matter how you play eye service, no matter how you play psychophancy, on the chessboard or the leader like Mr. President, you are just a pawn in the chess game.
Yeah. Easily. I mean, and I think we could see that the government seems to have understood the fact that
And they have
those
changed.
aides.
They are trying to do damage control.
So the secretary to the government of the federation came out and said that, look, we're going to have a deeper conversation and develop
Which
better
is more
understanding
like it.
with the Catholics. Which is
like
So,
it.
so
clearly,
what was not necessary.
Yeah,
It was not
clearly.
necessary if Boala had just
kept his mouth
his
quiet.
mouth shut.
Okay, well, not only him, there was also the Temitope Ajayi.
That's why I say some of the aides, because I know
that
it's
also
not
wrote,
only- yes.
the first,
Salvo.
useless salvo that didn't help the president. And like we said, these people are causing problems for the president. They are adding to his baggages. Now we know that the president is a very, astute politician, and he can, wave his way. He can waddle his way through. But hey, what's the point?
For how long?
Exactly, for how long? And then what's the point of adding baggage and baggage?
enemies for the president.
Why are you creating enemies for the president? Because you are trying to look good to the president.
And then the president has a tenure that will expire whether 2027 or 2030.
That's one. Exactly. These things are limited. Our last discussion point, friends, just because of time. So we have quite a few things to talk about around security. And I'll just, we make it an open house, for both of you. But I see that now, to the credit of the president, state police is in progress. They have expanded the military divisions. We are now seeing back-to-back rescues. But the killings are still persisting, especially in Benue and in Plateau, in Kaduna, and even in the south, in the northeast. Or even in Zamfara. So how do we read this? And let's start with Dr. Okoro. You are a security strategist. And then we come to the policy advisor.
Very well.
Yes.
Well, the first salutary news or information is that the government is putting out structures that will help to ensure sustainability of the security system. The the increase in the number of divisions. You know, when the office were just reflecting, even the economic impact of the creation. Yes, it will have tremendous. Think about Taraba, you are putting a division there.
Yeah.
Think about the salutary impact it will have on business.
And then I think in somewhere in Benue.
In the Makurdi, you are having a division.
Yeah.
Think about the economic.
Yeah.
So these are states that are actually in need of an injection, an economic.
And there's one more because
in Benin.
It's four.
In Benin.
Yeah.
So you can see immediately. Now this is not purely security now, but economic. You can see that. The second is that now you have the military going to be closer to the states or the area of operation. Before now, you take a division like the second div, the first div in Kaduna, covering as far as Niger, Kwara, Zamfara, and all that far-flung areas.
Yeah.
But now you're having more resources closer to those areas.
Yeah.
Now, the problem have never really been our ability to identify security crisis, is the ability to respond. Right? It now means that capacity, resources, and ability to respond is available and will be quicker. Right? The response will be quicker. Manpower will be available. Equipment will be available. So you have the military being closer to areas of need. But I've always said that the problem of internal security in Nigeria is a policing problem. And like I've said in other places, that the reason why we seem to have this endemic security problems that are growing is because the policing system had collapsed. The police is the lead agency in internal security operations, right?
Yeah.
Nigeria Police is the lead agency in national internal security operations. It is the failure of the policing system that have drawn the military to be involved in policing system. Because even now, this salutary step that have been taken by the president will not address the internal security problem we are having, because it's not a military problem. So it is not the military that will come into, because their training is different. Their constitutional responsibility is different from that of internal security. The question is, we are having our military dealing with internal security issues. We will have an external aggression. What happens? So our first line of security operation is now the military. Where is the police? And because the police have failed, that is why the DSS is doing police work. That is why civil defense are doing police work. You have Amotekums doing police work, vigilantes doing police work. So what we need to do, as great as the president have done in the military sector, we need to fix our policing system. The other one I was going to say, talking about Zamfara, what's happening in Benue, Zamfara, Kwara, Plateau, what we should then do is to draw resources from across the country, because this is where the crises are now, to increase the quantum of resources in Benue. That is security resources, security asset. Let's increase the quantum in Benue, increase the quantum in Plateau from other areas where there are less crises. Okay. It's now the issue of material or resource or asset management. We move asset from where there is less crisis to epicenter where there are crises. That is the way to manage this. Okay. And I'm sure that if we do this, we can solve this problem.
Okay. All right. Last word, Malam, because of our time.
Well, it's a welcome development. In fact, it is the topic of my piece on my Friday weekly back page column on the Nation newspapers, that we have for long needed more boots on the ground. It became a mantra. The heads of the armed forces have been crying out, and I totally agree that we should not lose the sight of the dire need of the federal police to have more boots on the ground, notwithstanding the emergence of the state police, because indeed the federal police remains a critical success factor for our internal security.
Just like you said.
But having said that, I will read an excerpt of what I wrote in that piece. And I said, it is important to note that no matter the number of boots on the ground, the Nigerian armed forces cannot realistically sustain and win the war against terrorism without significantly improving intelligence, logistics, and rapid response capabilities, technology deployment capabilities, especially the effective use of communication and drone technology, and swift, severe consequences for terrorists and their collaborators. Because not as we have agreed that we are deploying 28,000 more boots, we should recognize one thing, there will be a timeline to that. With respect to Mr. President, the 4 months timeline to achieve that is not tenable. One, because the average number of booths in a division in the Nigerian perspective is 7,000 to 10,000 soldiers. So suffice it to say, we have 4 new divisions. If you divide it, it's about 7,000 per division. To train, that is recruitment, training, indoctrination, and deployment. For the recruits, is 6 months, right, to train at the depot. And then for the officers, is about 5 years in the NDA for the short service. Even if you crash it, you have a timeline to deploy man and material. You have a timeline to build the barracks and the offices and to deploy the equipment. Let us also not forget, there's also a dire need, there's a serious infrastructure and equipment deficit for the existing divisions themselves. Don't forget, Brigadier General Bremo died with his team when they were ambushed with only 1 armored personnel carrier, an entire battalion. So you can imagine the infrastructure and equipment deficit already existing in the divisions. We hope that those issues will be addressed so that we don't think that creating this division in a narrative will push away the issues. We have a timeline to achieve that. Before that timeline, what are we going to be doing? And then the critical success factor is funding, Prof. By June this year, we've only been able to disperse 7% of the entire annual budget for defense. How are we going to fund the 28 boots on the ground? Because by my calculation, it is immediately a 16% increase in the entire wage bill of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Don't forget also, kudos to Mr. President, he has increased the salaries of the armed forces. So we are looking at maybe 25% increase across board for wage bill.
Okay.
Right? And
because the raises are about...
It doesn't matter. We have this 28%, 16% increase on wage bill, 16% increase on demand for resourcing, equipment, and everything. And that requires funding. I hope that will go pari passu, the declaration, to achieve that. But having said that, we need to deal with border security. We need to use drone technology to be for reconnaissance and surveillance, and also drones to carry payload to disrupt the convoy of these bandits that move on motorcycles and drop explosives on them, disperse them in their camps, disperse them when they are moving to commit these attacks. This is quick win that can be achieved within months. We have young Nigerians that are already building drones in Nigeria. This can be achieved as a quick win for us to destabilize the logistics and supply chain of these terrorists and to be killing them in drones. They move in 200s and hundreds when they are moving to attack. If we have drones that are doing surveillance and we have drones with payloads, we can be able to drop, explosive on them, disperse them, and by so doing, destabilize them, and by so doing, taking the war to them. But I think we should look at it from what I call from the direct and peripheral vision. Just increasing division will not solve the problem without this critical success factors.
Thank you. Thank you so much. 30 seconds. Because
I was just going to make a point that the bandits, they have routes that they use. It's just like roads. The bandits have regular routes.
Right.
Now, there are accusations that those routes are not being manned, or that security elements
are not focusing on
them because they move maybe like 100 bikes.
A drone will destabilize them.
A drone or even patrol can cut off these pathways, which is not being done currently. And I think that the military leadership should look at
Thank you so much, guys. We've had a very comprehensive conversation on 3 major topics. And I thank you so much for your insights and your contribution, and thank you for coming to Inside Sources, Mr. Dr. David Okoro and Madam Baba Yusuf. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Prof. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We hope that some of these things will help our country to.
Absolutely. I can assure you that they are listening.
Yeah.
Welcome back. In this segment, I want to quickly deal with an issue that has been going on in the Nigerian universities around the pluralism of representative unions. Now, we know that the Academic Staff Union of Universities is the older union that represents university teachers. But for quite a while now, we've also had the Congress of University Academics, CONUA, that has come up. Now, the tension is building up because people in ASU are insisting that they have the right, that they only have the right to the benefits that come out of their engagement with the federal government. So we are going to have a conversation on that with the president of CONWA, who is an associate professor of atmospheric physics from the Obafemi Awolowo University, and he has also been here before. So I'd like to welcome again to Inside Sources, Dr. Niyi Sumolu. My brother, good to see you again.
It's indeed a pleasure, and as I always say, we love what you are doing.
Thank you.
Now we pray that you continue to get work stronger in advocacy for the betterment of our country.
Absolutely. You know, it's the only country that we have, so we will keep on doing that. Thank you so much for the compliment. So let's look at it, you know, theoretically. Now, the argument now seems to be around pluralism in unionism in the universities. Now, ASU seems to be making the point that they represent the more, I don't know whether they say it's because they are the bigger one or the one that is recognized first, you know, but I wanted you to give us some kind of a summary of how that has been and what's the situation on ground.
Thank you very much, and I want to say that I appreciate being on this program today. First and foremost, before 2023, January, when the registration of CONWA was eventually completed, in the universities in this country, we have only one academic union. Meanwhile, there's this provision in the Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, that provides, Section 40 provides for freedom of association. So, with the registration of CONWA and the other union, then it opens another terrain to what we now have, or what we now refer to as pluralism in academic unionism in Nigerian universities. And that is not an anathema to the constitution of the country, as I alluded to. In fact, on 17 October 1960, Nigeria ratified the ILO Conventions 87 and 98. Convention 87 spoke to freedom of association, and Convention 98 spoke to issues bordering on voluntary negotiation. So there's nowhere in these two conventions. Convention 87 had about 21 articles. Convention 98 has about 16 articles. There's nowhere in these 21 and 16 articles respectively.
That's the ILO
conventions, which Nigeria ratified in 1960. There's no provision in all these articles where it is said that because a union is bigger in number, because its union is older by virtue of the time it was registered, that it could represent other unions at all. And if there's going to be any representation at all, the provision of our constitution still speaks to, and this ILO conventions speak to the fact that you still need the consent of those you want to represent. And that is, you don't have to be a lawyer. I don't claim to be a learned person in terms of being a lawyer. You don't have to be a lawyer to be able to understand the tenet of those provisions. Sometimes ago, we have people misrepresenting or even standing on its head. The import of these provisions, the import, and for the public, is that you have freedom to choose any union. You cannot be discriminated against based on the union you belong to, which you voluntarily so choose. And any benefit accruing to a group of people, not based on union affiliation, a group of people based on work, based on definition of work, for example, as we have in the Consolidated Academic Tool Allowance, CATA, that people said it belonged to them because they fought for it. I have issues against that on two grounds. The first is that CONWA at its negotiation with the government that reached an advanced stage, which is only awaiting formal assent by the federal government. And as far as the federal government is concerned, for now, is that they have their schedule of activities that they want. Eventually, they have the agreement signed with us. The second point is to the fact that this benefit is not based on union affiliation, is not any union that employ anybody on duty. It is a federal government benefit that is given to all academics in the universities that are on CONUA's consolidated academic salary scale. And that it was made clear by the release by the federal Honorable Minister of Education on 9th June 2026. And that should put paid to all these side talks about it belongs to us, we fought for it, and what have you. Law has no emotion.
Right.
What does the rule say? And that has to be followed.
Interesting. And it's important that that we make this very, very clear, because I have here, a letter that was written by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, the Kwara State University branch, and I'm going to read portions of the letter, because what ASU is saying is not conjecture. They are very bold about it. They are saying this is a letter to the Vice Chancellor, of Kwara State University, signed by the chair of ASU in that Kwara State University. It says, this is to formally state that all academic staff who are not members of ASU are not entitled to benefit from the just concluded federal government ASU agreement. Now, if that is not outrageous, I don't know what is. This is a staff union, writing in this kind of tone and language to the authorities of universities to say that they have determined on their own that if you don't belong to ASU, in a country where there is another government-recognized union university, that they are not entitled to the benefit of the federal government agreement. So when I talk about some of these things, I am shocked that the same union will behave in this very, very tyrannical manner, and to even put it down in writing. It's a different thing if they are going to do it and they will say that, okay, they'll be coded about it, but they are putting it in writing, and they are now saying, the last paragraph of the letter, let me read it for the benefit of our members. They said, the union, that is ASU, therefore officially authorized the bursar. Where did ASU get the authority to instruct university the governance? Where? It's not Senate, it's not governing council, and I'm surprised that we are the ones, we fought for university autonomy. That doesn't include ASU giving an instruction. That is just complete chaos. It is not ASU's business to give instruction to the universities. And that is why I brought this letter, just so I can get what is the take of CONUA. How are you guys reacting to this? And please tell us what happened in this particular instance.
Okay.
And if there are other instances, let us know.
Yeah, we have more instances than that, which we have proof for. Sometimes ago that I was here, we spoke about the matter in the University of Jos. And the matter, when it was taken up, when it was escalated, it was, we were promised that something was going to be done, and actually something positive was done. Well, I will look at it slightly differently, in the sense that, you see, I've always held this opinion that absolute power corrupts absolutely. The way our sister union behaved, in fact, they've turned themselves into a government. And sadly, academics have also outsourced. We have actually outsourced our thinking to these people in the leadership of the other union. And that is part of what brought about the birth of CONUA. Not only that, that is part of what CONUA represents, that academics, an individual, not to even say academic, but in this particular case, academics. Academics have a right as an individual entity to look at issues, to have information, process information, and make decisions based on information as an individual. And that person can agree or disagree with anything based on information available to him or her. And this is what the universities actually ought to be doing. This is what universities are doing elsewhere. This is what part of what will bring about development, where everybody sleeps and faces in the same direction, or where in situations where you outsource your thinking to so-called powers somewhere, you have no progress that can be achieved. And we can say that unequivocally, we can say that that has been the lot of our universities since the other union began or degenerated in this toga of arrogance, dictatorship, and what have you. Since we had pluralism in academic unionism, the rating of the universities have gone up. We have evidence for that. It's all over the place. And it's due to nothing other than that you have uninterrupted academic calendars. You can't claim to fight for a system and you on one hand, and by the other token, you just destroy the system. What CONOA represents is a situation in which we advocate for the welfare of our members while where we work is also paramount to us, because the healthy situation of our universities will mean healthy situation for us. That said, this particular letter, as I said, we had other examples. The only thing is, the government should stand its ground. No union is a government. In fact, union is a creation of the government. Without the assent of the government, union cannot be in existence. If they are in existence, they will be doing so illegally, and the government can take them up. So all we are saying is that government should just stand its ground on the constitution that binds us together and give every union, irrespective of creed, color, whatever, equal platform to operate, as long as the common ground norm is what binds us together.
Interesting. So just for the benefit of our viewers, last question. What has been the attitude of the federal government to this claim by ASU that the benefits of the federal government agreement is only for people who pay check-off dues to ASU? What's the position of the federal government, if you know?
I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the Minister of Education. He had to
that's Dr. Tunji
Alausa, CON. He had to make a clarification, a release, a letter addressed to the pro-chancellors of universities, federal universities in this case. It was dated 9th June 2026, if my memory serves me right, and stated expressly in that letter that the benefit the benefit of the negotiation or the approval by the government is to all academic staff on CONOAS, that is Consolidated Academic Staff Salary Scale, and that put paid to that. I want to comment a little bit on the CATA. From that release,
the CATA,
yes, that is Consolidated Academic Tools Allowance.
Okay.
That release put paid to some of our people being intimidated to then be paid by the vice chancellors.
Okay.
We don't know what the vice chancellors are afraid of. If it's a government directive, you just follow the directive.
So are you saying that CONOA members have not been paid?
Before that release of that letter,
okay,
we had some of our members that were denied, that were excluded. Because of things like this.
They were afraid of ASU.
They were actually emboldened by the other union is actually emboldened by the attitude of the vice chancellor trying to behave as if they are afraid of a union that is not a government.
Yeah. Anyway.
So on that matter also, I would like to say that appeal to the government in this particular situation, the state government, that we only have a handful of state government that have implemented the allowances approved by the government. Now that we have money accrued to the states increased in manifold now due to subsidy removal, we want to implore the state government to make do by paying these allowances, because the health of a university or the health of academic staff in the university is the health of a nation. There's no nation that can develop higher than the status of its university registrars. We make bold to say that. Yeah. So if somebody is hungry, you can teach well, you can do research well. So we want to appeal to the state government to fulfill that obligation. Last but not the least, I want to also appeal to the federal government to, without further delay, conclude the negotiation. It started with CONOA. Because we have reached an advanced stage, it's just a matter of assenting to the agreement. So that this issue of it is my money, it is this or that, will be rested forever.
Okay, thank you so much.
And that will be in consonance with ILO convention that Nigeria ratified, 98 to be precise, in terms of voluntary negotiation between employer and employees.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Niyi Sumonu, who is an associate professor of atmospheric physics and who is the president of the Congress of Nigerian University Academics. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
It's indeed a pleasure for having us. Thank you so much for what you do. Once again, we pray for continuous strength and vision, guidance to bring up our country from the doldrums.
Amen. We will get there. And by the way, you know, we hope that Hasu will be able to come out and explain his own part of it. I find it ridiculous based on this letter that was signed, you know, but this platform and every other platform in Nigerian media is open for us to clarify, is this really what the leadership of ASU is saying, or are we missing something? Inside Sources is open for that conversation, and there are also other platforms. But it would be good to hear from the leadership, the national leadership of ASU, what their take on this is, you know, at least for the records. So that's it. That's another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means Nigeria will win, partly because we won't give up. We will keep pushing at the issues. My name is Laulu Akonde. Thank you for watching, and by the grace of God, I'll see you on Friday.